uh, you will deliver the talk on ANN in the ocean engineering. Now I request sir to start your session.
Okay, I believe I'm audible to you as well as you can see me.
Yes, sir.
Afterwards,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, I
Your
will,
voice is audible and I can see you.
yeah, I will switch off my camera once I start my slides because
And sir,
there are
sir, let me tell you that in your session, Professor Hazi Azamutullah sir is also have
yeah,
joined.
yeah. Actually, I was thinking of saying hello to him because after few years, there are many years we have met actually, and
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
a time when we used to meet regularly in Pune.
So
Now Azmat is in.
when he saw the schedule that and you are one of the session speakers, so he told me that please share me the link when the Londe sir's lecture you
Yes,
have scheduled.
that's very, very kind of Azmat. We are very good friends, but now he is far away. But he find out time at this hour of Indian time. So thanks a lot, and uh, thanks a lot for your management, your Professor Mehta, that you thought that I could deliver a lecture in your STTP. So today I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. I would not say, but artificial neural networks. And of course, it is included in soft computing techniques. It is included in many parts that I would come to particularly come to that afterwards. So my lecture would be divided in general into two parts. I am aware that maybe yesterday you have been given the concept of what is soft computing, then what is neural networks, and how it works, and all those kind of things. But I thought that uh, let me start with neural networks again. I may not go into that depth because I'm not going to fully spend my time on ANN. For some time I would definitely give you the concept, because the concept is such that after doing neural networks for maybe almost last 20 years, still I find myself an infant in the field of ANNs, because this is so huge and so vast that we feel many times that now I know everything about ANN, and then suddenly something comes and that you don't know. So therefore, it is better to call ourselves as students of artificial neural networks or AI or soft computing. So there is no harm in listening to this for some time, and then I would uh, switch on to, I would just switch towards my topic, that is applications in coastal and ocean engineering. Now, I'm very happy that there is this water resources MTech in this institute, the government college. I'm very happy because I don't find this in many institutions. It is very rare commodity actually, this water resources. And Indian Society of Hydraulics is doing a very good job actually of um, this water resource community. They are trying to make it together, and next month only there is going to be hydro in Surat only, in SVNIT, and many people over there, Professor Patel and Tambadia sir, and all those. We generally we come together every year for this hydro, which is there in Surat. So actually, we were thinking to coming to Surat this time, definitely, but somehow once again now it is online. Anyway, so I feel that I would be able to meet Professor Mehta again. He seems to be member of ISH, so maybe he would be there in the conference. So at least online we can meet, and all our colleagues of Indian Society of Hydraulics. So because of Indian Society of Hydraulics, some people get to know that ocean engineering is something, coastal engineering is something, and that is a part of civil engineering. Because in India, other than IITs and few NITs, nobody knows that there is something like coastal and ocean engineering, and it is a part of civil engineering. They forget that basically the coastal engineering or the ocean engineering, that is the waves and tides, they start with Bernoulli's equation only. So these solutions of the Bernoulli's equation, solution of Navier-Stokes equation, they actually lead towards wave development theories and all that. But people forget that. They only know the constructions which are there on the shore as well as in the open sea. But for that also you require coastal and ocean engineering, that is hydrodynamics knowledge. So due to this ISH, people come to know that coastal and ocean engineering is a part of civil engineering. In very few institutes, these courses they are run. Sometimes they are with this water resources, at least in IIT Bombay, in our IIT, this used to be elective course in water resource, but now they are having definitely, my Guruji Professor Dev is there. So earlier they used to have offshore, now they are having MTech in ocean engineering, just like IIT Madras and IIT Kharagpur and many other NITs. So it is known having tremendous scope, but somehow it is lagging behind because people don't know about it. So I thought, let me choose this coastal engineering because I did my PhD with neural networks and coastal and ocean engineering as a civil engineer. So, and as a hydraulic engineer, I'm always saying hydraulic engineer, not water resources, so that it would be a larger umbrella, because hydraulics will have water resources. It will also have groundwater. It will have surface hydrology and whatnot, and fluid mechanics. So all these things together, it forms sediment transport. It forms this hydraulic engineering. So being a hydraulic engineer, I thought, why not to talk about coastal and ocean engineering applications, particularly to our Indian participants, so that they can also have an idea that this is very, very useful technology, which you are definitely going through in water resource engineering, and you will go through for next 3 days as well. So with this preamble, I think I should start. I would just start my presentation, and you please let me know then when you see the slide. Okay, I will switch off my video now. Okay, is the presentation visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is what it is. In this 1 week online short-term training program, Advances in Soft Computing, Soft Computing Techniques in Civil Engineering, organized by Dr. S. Gandhi Government Engineering College, Surat. I'm very thankful to you people and your management for organizing this workshop first and then having me. Whatever is in front of you, this is one of the oceanic parameter. This is called as surf. We see many times, see, there is a surfer over there. So this is a surf. This is not only wave. Okay, so this is a kind of loop which is created in the surf, but behind that, or basically below that, is nothing but the water level or the tidal level, which is a long wave. Okay, so there are various oceanic parameters which have been dealt by the neural networks. Of course, there are certain softwares which are used by people like CWBRS. Azmatullah would be definitely knowing about the softwares like Mike 21, RiffDiff, and so many, Swan. So there are softwares which are used for these purposes. But like we as neural network modelers, we always say that let us try these techniques, if not as an alternative, but at least as a supplement technique. And for that, since last so many years, we people are working on that. Why this is so? Why we want to model the oceanic parameters? Simply because various oceanic parameters, they affect variety of structures standing on the coast as well as in the open sea. So that is the basic need. So if at all these oceanic parameters, if they are affecting our structures, then we must know how to model these parameters. And you know what is the meaning of model. That means we are supposed to know their behavior. If we can estimate them, if we can predict their behavior, then we can work about sustainability of the structures which we want to construct or constructed. So from that perspective, it is necessary to model the oceanic parameters. And of course, therefore, there are physics-based techniques. As I said, some softwares I have explained. Already I told you that you have to solve the wave development equation. That is one way of doing that. Okay, physics-based. Physical modeling is also there, like in CWPRS Pune. There is a very big physical modeling facility available for all the harbors. Your Kandla port is here, modeled in CWPRS. We visit that many times. Vizag is there, Bombay Port Trust is there. All the models are there in CWPRS. That is a physical kind of model. Okay, but they have their limitations, they have their advantages, but this is another technique, neural networks. And so let us first understand some basics of neural networks, and then we will see the applications. So the structures which I said, this is a very famous structure. One IHR, NVIDIA IHR 2012 happened over here, and I presented our work only in ocean engineering only. So this is the columnar basalt, a type of basalt standing centuries and attacked by the waves. Waves are nothing but oceanic parameter. It is attacked by waves and tides because it is near the coast. Okay, it is attacked by current. It is attacked by the temperature. So therefore, this is a kind of structure which is natural. Okay, it is not man-made. But a man-made structure lies here in our Maharashtra state in Sindhudurga district. This is the famous Sindhudurga fort, which is constructed by, which was constructed by
Sorry to disturb you,
the
sir.
great.
Slides
Yep.
are not working actually. We cannot see the slides. Very sorry to disturb.
Not a single slide you could see.
Sir, you are on the first slide only, title slide. The
Yeah.
slides are not.
Okay. So this one is still there. Application
Yes,
of neural
it was
networks for modeling
Sir,
oceanic
that is
parameters.
visible. Yes.
Okay. Now the next one.
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, I will do it again. Don't worry. There may be some problem with the network. I will do it again. Just wait. So thanks. It is quite possible that I may lose the connectivity. You please call me, or some of my colleagues who are there in the meeting, I see their names. They can also call me if there is some problem with the net. Okay, let me try again.
Yes, sir. We will.
Okay, can you see the slide right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There
We
is
can
this,
see columnar basalt right now.
yeah, columnar basalt. The question is now, will it go further? That is the question. So let me click. Now,
Sir,
can you see this?
Sir, now just change one or more slide.
Yeah, I have changed actually. It is now
Yes,
the
sir.
Yes.
Now it's okay.
Okay. But please keep me informed if anything happens.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
So this is that Sindhudurga fort, which was built by the great Maratha warrior Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. 300 years back, maybe, still standing and attacked by waves 24/7. They do not have a weekly off. Every now and then they come and attack. Man-made structure. We must know the oceanic parameters which are attacking these man-made structure. See, this is from near, and it is a famous place. You can visit this place, no doubt about it, near Malvan. This is another one. This is older than Sindhudurga. That is called as Murud Janjira, which is near Alibag. Say maybe 4-5 hours from Mumbai. Once again, very famous. It is standing against the oceanic parameters like waves and tides. And they are definitely man-made, but historic. Now, this is today's structure, Bombay High. Okay, there is a harbor which is shown. There is a Pondicherry Beach. Pondicherry Beach, this is, of course, earlier it was completely eroded. But Professor Sundar and his team, Professor Murli, they got this job of restoring this. This now, that was completely eroded because of the wave action and the cyclonic action happened in Pondicherry. Now, see how the bridge looks like. This is Mahatma Gandhi Road in Pondicherry, which is restored. The beach is restored. And the last one is Swami Vivekananda Rock Memorial, standing very tall against all the kinds of forces from 3 oceans. And so, just I want to prove that it is necessary that we must model the oceanic parameters. we must know what these oceanic parameters or what is going to happen with these oceanic parameters, maybe few time steps ahead, if not few months, few time steps ahead. That can also help a lot. Okay, so with this preamble, as a ritual, let me acknowledge first Professor Dev, my guru, my guide. Whatever I know is because of him, and he is always there with me, for me, and guides me. Till date, we are in very good contact. I am very happy to inform and very proud to say that he is the pioneer researcher in the field of artificial neural networks, 100% in India, no doubt about it. But very few among at that time were there in the world who were doing research in neural networks, and that too in coastal and ocean engineering. Professor Charate, who is now director of Amity University College of Engineering here in Mumbai, near Mumbai, that is in Khopoli, Bombay Pune Expressway. He was my colleague when I was doing my postdoc in IIT Bombay. Similarly, Professor Kambekar, who is in government college, that is Sardar Patel College, Mumbai. Both these, they have worked in ocean engineering and artificial intelligence. Dr. Pooja Jain, she also did her PhD and then postdoc with Professor Dev in IIT Bombay. These people, they have contributed in my works also. Then Dr. Pradnya, who is already there in the audience, and Dr. Preeti, they worked in this artificial intelligence, neural networks, and genetic programming, and model trees, and support vectors, and in coastal ocean engineering, in concrete technology, and all. And lastly, I'm not written doctor. She would become doctorate in few months. Shalaka Shah, who is the junior most one, but who taught me really well this neural networks. And with her work only, I could get very prestigious Jalavigyan Puraskar for our work in neural networks, but in hydrology. So I really acknowledge the efforts of these people. I am there, whatever, because of their contribution. So that is what I always say about Professor Dev. He did his first work on wave forecasting in 1999. Dev and Naidu is the paper. So those who want to do their PhD or any work in coastal ocean engineering, they should first read this paper, Dev and Naidu, about wave forecasting. And then every now and then he is publishing a lot in coastal and ocean engineering, and many times now he has turned towards effect of climate change, but once again in many oceanic parameters only. See how many parameters he has listed: shortwave propagation, tide prediction, directional spreading, wave height interpolation, wind forecasting, that is inverse modeling, then spatial mapping of waves, breaking waves, and effect of climate change. So he has tackled almost all the parameters. I am nowhere near to him and can't be ever in my life. I have just tackled about wave forecasting and water level forecasting, which I am going to discuss today with you. So in this presentation, I would first just talk about what is AI, though I know that this is soft computing, but soft computing is a subset of AI only. So today's buzzword is AI, but people also talk about every now and then machine learning, ANN, and nowadays deep learning. So are these things same, or is there any difference? There are many overlapping things in between this. So just a passing reference to this, and then I will go to the ANN basics. Then wave forecasting, ocean wave forecasting, few time steps ahead. Real-time wave forecasting, that is the National Institute of Ocean Technology project, which I did as my postdoctoral work in IIT Bombay. NIOT is in Chennai. Then we did spatial mapping of wave heights in that NIOT only. Then removal of prediction lag in wave forecasting, which my doctoral student, Dr. Pradnya, she did this kind of work, very, very important work. This is a hybrid kind of modeling. Then the INCOIS, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Systems, that is Hyderabad. It is Ministry of Earth Sciences. They bestow it upon us this responsibility of improving the location specific wave forecast using neural networks. So that is an actual live work which we did from 2013 to 2017, which I am going to present. And then the last, water level forecasting. These two things are different. Because if I write there tide forecasting, you will get confused with waves. And so therefore, first I am writing waves and then it is water level forecasting. In actually in bracket, these are the tides. But there is a difference between them. Okay, so let us start. This is how it is. These are nothing but like every part of it, or uh, these are Russian dolls. So every doll is actually can be a subset of the other. So artificial intelligence is a larger umbrella, as I always say. For that, what is intelligence? Capacity to acquire and apply the knowledge. That is intelligence. Generally we misinterpret or misspell or misunderstand what is intelligence. We call many people intelligent. There is a difference between intelligence and brilliance. Remember that. What is intelligence? Why it is called as Central Intelligence Agency, CIA? Why it is not called as Central Brilliance Agency? It is CIA because they collect the information, they acquire and then apply the knowledge. So they don't keep the knowledge with them, they apply it. But for that, they acquire the knowledge. And then having the ability to benefit, because we are human beings, we have the ability to learn, and that we call it as an experience. So from the past experience, they act purposefully, solve the problems and adapt to new situations. Like we have adapted now to these kind of presentations. I am sitting at maybe some 500-600 kilometers from you, and I am having a dialogue with all of you using this AI, about AI techniques. We are getting adapted to these new situations, and this is possible only because all of us are intelligent. We have the capacity to acquire and apply the knowledge. If this capacity is possible to computers, machines, it becomes AI, as simple as that. So simplest way of understanding AI is to first know that whatever we do as human beings, can computer do it, replicate it? Can they perform the same activities? Robots, the famous example of AI. Okay, so Terminator, Schwarzenegger, Transformers, these are the examples of AI, artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence means how close or how well a computer can imitate and go beyond when compared to human being. That means the computer has to do what I have written earlier. That means computer has to take the experience, computer has to act purposefully, computer must learn from the experiences and solve problems, and it has to adapt also new situations. That is AI. It is the broadest term used to classify the machines. AI is the broadest term, very, very broad. So it is the larger umbrella. It encompasses all others which I have shown on the screen. To classify machines that mimic the human intelligence. Say kind of robots. There is a robo now which can clean your house. That kind of robo is available in India. So it is, they mimic the human intelligence. It is used to predict, automate, and optimize tasks. Predict, automate, and optimize that humans have historically done, such as speech and facial recognition. Majority now, many banks, at many places, there is face recognition, there is thumb impression, biometric, and all these kind of things. All ultimately will lead towards this decision making and translation. All these things, we don't know what Google is really having behind their engines, because Google is having what is called as a Google net, which is nothing but a deep learning neural net, and which does all these kind of things. Amazon, it is having a deep learning neural network, deep neural network. Amazon, all the search engines like that, our makemytrip.com, all. So that's why whenever we switch on our computer, and if I go to Make My Trip, it will definitely show me many things which I have searched earlier and what I should search further. It will try to give me options. If you have booked tickets of a movie earlier, then that bookmyshow.com is going to do the same thing. If on Amazon you have searched for some of your clothing earlier, it is going to show you something. It is, you may say that, sir, what is there in that? Every machine can do that. Remember, it is happening for millions and millions of machines at a time, not an easy task. They have a neural network behind this. Artificial intelligence. Okay, truly speaking, earlier there was only this neural network present in 1956. This name of AI was given, and nowadays now there are variety of techniques which we can group in AI, artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is a bigger or larger umbrella in which there is neural network, but neural network seems to be smaller. There is something more in between that, and that is machine learning. So what does it do? These are the three things. First, I am showing machine learning, that is a robo. Then I am showing a neural network, and then something like a neural network, but it is bigger, larger, deeper. Okay, so it uses advanced algorithms that parse the data, separate out the data, learns from it, and use these learnings to discover meaningful patterns of interest. So machines, they learn. This concept is very new. Transformers, this concept is very new, isn't it? Terminators, same, machines, they learn. And they are using the advanced algorithms. From the data, they are learning by separating out the data. Okay. Then what neural networks do? The artificial neural networks, they mimic the human brain through a set of algorithms used in machine learning. So that's why machine learning is a larger umbrella. Okay, so ANN specifically mimics the human brain, but it has a set of algorithms, not all. From machine, some of the machine learning algorithms, neural networks adopts few for its learning. So neural network has a place in AI, but in between that, definitely there is this machine learning. And truly speaking, the deep learning is not a part of neural network. Actually, they are at the same level, because deep learning is nothing but a bigger kind of neural network, deeper neural network. Okay, so by using these neurons, the graphs of neurons, the neural working, actual biological neural working, the neural network, that is artificial neural network, mimics that kind of biological neural network by mimicking the human brain. Okay, and this deep, more than 3 layers at least, which would inclusive of input output. I am going to discuss about this later, and it can be considered as a deep learning algorithm. So neural network fits there, and this is also a soft computing technique, because computing can be hard and soft. Hard means which is hard towards data. What is hard towards data? Many of you will be teachers. Students forge our salary, not salary, our signs on their drawing sheets and journals. Some teachers, they definitely catch the students, isn't it? That is what is hard computing. That means if at all we can catch, that means if the answer is dependent only on the data, okay, that is what is hard. Say you are having a formula. All of us are from water resources community, so I can say that HF is equal to FL V square by 2G into D. That is Darcy-Weisbach equation. Now you know that. If I put wrong values of D and F, I am going to get any absurd value of HF. That is hard computing, which completely depends upon the data. So likewise, a teacher, when sees that his side is there, but he doesn't write it like that, that means definitely forged. Okay, but sometimes what happens is that in our bank, when we go, after many days, the branch manager is changed, and we give say a withdrawal slip. Nowadays nobody does that, but earlier days we used to do that, write a withdrawal slip. If the cashier or the signature authority is new, he would take out the original form and he will verify that whether my signature is very much same. The brain works it that way. It tries to compare the way I write. That is very much hard computing. But many times it gives me that sometimes my SN Londe, my L may not be exactly the same, but then he would look my photo and he would look towards me and then he would give it to me. Okay, so remember that in many cases, we get the amount that is soft towards data. But if at all it doesn't fit, that means you will be taken out. So that is hard and soft, and out of that, neural networks is soft. It is soft towards data. Okay, it will not give the kind of, or it will not stop working because there is something missing. That is the beauty of something like neural networks. Okay, the person, the branch manager, by slight change in my signature, he accepts that, okay, this happens. Every time we cannot make the same signature. So he allows us soft towards data. But some managers, they are very hard towards that. They will say, no, it is not exact. Same thing is going to happen in future with our biometric. Because every time we do not put our finger in exact the same manner. And you know that those institutes where biometric is there, they will say that this finger is exactly the same as the finger of the person who is sitting in the chair.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Yeah, now am I there? Now am I there? Now I'm
Yes.
there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I will again start from where I think I missed. I got a call. So no problem. Okay. Is the slide visible to you? I think I was discussing this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I discussed about this. So now let us go ahead with this. So these are the artificial neural networks, which are soft computing techniques. Fine. So these are massively parallel distributed information processing system. First of all, they are massive. Second, they are parallelly distributed. Sorry, parallel, then distributed. They are information processing system. We will see the meaning of all these terms. And they resemble the biological neural network. We will see the meaning of this statement in my next slide. It was developed way back in 1943. And then you can say that there was a resurgence in 1986 by Rumelhard after basically they invented the backpropagation algorithm. Because till that time, neural network was like, it is not going to sustain. But now it is there everywhere. There are these applications which you can see. Our major aim is hydrology, concrete mix design, construction, water resource engineering, hydrology, and whatnot. In coastal ocean engineering, more than 300 or 400 journal papers in last many years. And now it is definitely a known modeling tool for doing various parameters, oceanic. If you want to go to the basics, don't read, say, a very big neural network books, because from that we don't understand anything. Just I've given some names, Bose and Liang and Wasserman, but As a hydraulic engineer, as a coastal engineer, as a civil engineer, we should read papers by ASC Task Committee 2000, Professor Govind Raju, Purdue, Dawson and Wilby. Dawson is from Loughborough, I think, Great Britain, and Wilby 2001. Basic papers. Meyer and Dandy, Australia, 2001. Jain and Dev, that is Pooja Jain, and my Guruji, Professor Dev, 2006. And Londe and Vijay Panchang. Vijay Panchang is not a neural network modeler, but he was my advisor in Texas A&M Galveston. And we had a very good paper in 2006. But now in 2016, we have given a paper on, or we have given a book chapter on neural networks and ocean engineering. And we have covered lot many things in that particular as basic of artificial neural network already. Okay. So this is what is the artificial neuron, because when I say that it is massively parallel distributed information processing system, actually I am supposed to therefore discuss about how come this is massive, and how come it is doing that particular function of information processing. So I will make it a habit. Everything is going on smoothly. You can see my slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So this is what is called as the basic neuron. So neuron is the smallest cell in the brain. So this is neuron 1, this is neuron 2. They are linked over here. Here, I will talk about it. These are called as the dendrites, and this is the axon. When two dendrites are like wires, they carry the current. In our case, they carry the information or the signal. If you scratch on your say arm, forearm, anywhere, and if you scratch it, then that signal is received in the brain by these neurons. So neurons carry these signals. Whenever they come together, that is called as a synapse. Whenever two things come together, it is called as a synapse. So signal 1, signal 2, many such dendrites, they can come here, making the signal stronger. So it is like an airport wherein number of airplanes they are coming, and they are actually coming on this particular port. Okay, so the passengers, they are coming from all over, and so therefore this would be very, very crowded. In our sense, we will call it that. So the signal is getting very, very, very strong. The problem is that from here to this place where you can collect your baggage, you cannot walk. There is a fluid which is stored in between this, that is called as neurotransmitter fluid. And what is also known is that when you walk through this, there is a transformation in you. The signal doesn't remain the same. If you are say Y, then you will become log Y over here. If you are say X or theta, then you will become tan theta over here. There is some kind of transformation happening in you. If this is not working properly, then what happens? That happened in Munna Bhai 2, hallucinations. So this is very important to have the neurotransmitter fluid. So there is a signal transformation, and all the very strong signal is accumulated over here. Okay. Now, whatever information this neuron has received, it has to transfer it. Otherwise, how brain can take the action? Isn't it? That is how the brain works. So this transformation happens through this axon. So this now transformed signal, whatever is received is now transformed. It passes through the axon. Axon is only one. So this axon of this, now this neuron is coming. This is axon of the other neuron. It comes in contact with the dendrite of the other neuron, that is also synapse. That means if I want to show it over here, then perhaps I can show it like this, that this axon would be in contact with the dendrite of the other neuron like this, and here there is this synapse. Okay, there is always a small space in between that, and this can be the dendrite. I am just magnifying the figure. Okay, and there would be a signal transfer in between these two. So actually that means this is giving the output of this all input which is coming over here. All these inputs which are through this dendrites, they are getting transformed over here and converted into output. This output then goes to other neuron. This output then goes to other neuron. There are about 10 raised to 11 such neurons in the brain. That's why it is massive. All are working together. That's why it is distributed. All are working at the same space and simultaneously. That's why it is parallel. And all are passing the information in the forward direction. That's why it is called as information processing system. That too, it has processed the information by having some transformation. So that's why massively distributed parallel information processing system. And this is how the brain works. And then brain will take the decision. If this network, if this signal is not very strong, then it will simply decay. If signal is not strong, leprosy, that is the disease. So they don't, therefore they feel that there is a touch to their body. Why? Because signal is not strong. That is how we can also say, that is one way to say about leprosy. But normal people, this signal will transfer to the brain, and then brain will take the action, and then opposite signal will come. It will also transfer to this. So that means for various inputs, we are getting an output. Bus. This can we transfer as artificial thing? So here there is this. This X1, X2, X3, these are the dendrites. That means through which the information comes. That means we can call them inputs. They can be variety of inputs. Like if I say that this is the wind velocity, this is the temperature maximum, then this is the sunshine hours, daily sunshine hours. Then there can be, say, humidity. There can be so many information processing is going on, and all of them, they are coming. Okay, and they are getting summed up over here. Before that, they are getting multiplied by this W1. Why? Because here you can see that they are coming together, getting stronger. W1 into X1, W1 into X2, W2 into X2, W3 into X3. Likewise, every signal is getting stronger and stronger, and then they are getting added up over here. So, like this, if the signal is not strong, it will decay. We don't allow that. Generally, we add a bias, that means some number to that, so that the signal will be strong and it will fire to an output. But as we know, from here to here, you require a neurotransmitter fluid. Instead of that, in mathematics, we take it as a transfer function. As I said, if it is y, it would become log y. If it is theta, it would become tan theta, something like that. So I take some function like 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus some. Why this? No, wait, I can take any function. The meaning is that I get the output in the transform form. So that is the process, what is happened on this particular data. Okay, so sum is equal to this. It passes through a transfer function and you get an output. This is how a single neuron works. Okay, if I say that now, all these neurons, I can make it out separately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here I write the output as evaporation. My neural network is done. But in general, this doesn't work, or this can work in this fashion. Okay, that is called as a perceptron. But in general, civil engineering networks, whatever we require, they also have some neurons in between, and they are used to tackle the non-linearity of the problem, because as you see, there is no formula. What I'm using, I'm just using the inputs and I'm mapping them on the outputs by using some transfer function. There is no formula. Okay, say this is HF and I'm having FL V square, but there is no formula, just the values. And this particular thing, it has to understand, like brain, that it is FL V square by 2 GD, and then only you are going to get HF. This particular machine, learning machine, has to understand this when I provide the data to that. So therefore, for the non-linearity, there is always one more layer of neuron at least. Because if I add another layer, doesn't matter. If I add one more, it goes to deep learning. One or two layers, they can be easily added, and then you can reach the output layer. So this would be input layer, this would be output layer, and these are called as the hidden layers. Everywhere action is same. That means everywhere you will get input multiplied by weight plus bias through some kind of function, you will reach over here. Okay, now everywhere this will also receive signals from all other neurons. They are all going to combine over here. Same procedure. So there would be combination of all this. Then once again multiplied by weight, bias, transfer function, this neuron. So now this neuron is going to take like this from all same, and finally it would reach the output getting from all. So repetitive procedure, and you are going to get the answer. I stop over here. I don't go further. That I will come back again. Let me just tell you that this is the procedure of the information in the forward direction. Therefore, this is called as feed forward. This is a type of neural network actually, when the information goes in the forward direction. Okay, let us go further with this. That is what I said. Just you can look at the picture. So this into this weight, apply the dot product, apply summation, activation function or the transfer function, meaning is same. Sometimes it is called as activation because it activates the neuron and gives you the answer. Or it transforms by 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus m. That's why also it is called as activation function, and you get what is the output. This is how an artificial neuron works. Okay, you can better understand it by this way. See, these are nothing but the weights. You sum them, add a bias through activation function. The activation functions, they are also squashing functions, because all the activation functions, they have their answers in limits, maybe minus 1 to 1, 0 to 1, minus 0.5 to plus 0.5, likewise. So they always say squeeze the answers, squeeze your signal. So they are also called as these kind of functions, the transfer functions, they squeeze also the inputs. Okay, and this is how you get the output. Okay, that is the single neuron. Let us go further now. As I said, this is the feed forward network. Input, output, everywhere there is a bias. Input multiplied by weight, bias is added, transfer function, you get the output over here. So this will be output from first neuron, second neuron, third neuron. All of them, they will sum over here. Once again, here there would be multiplied by weight, bias is added, transfer function, output over here. Here there are two outputs in the output layer. Can they be? Yes, they can be number of outputs. Why only one? Same function will be done over here. So this is receiving the signals from this as well as this neuron. This is receiving from this neuron as well as this neuron. But everywhere it is in this forward direction. That's why it is feed forward. Here now, sometimes these green lines, these arrows, they are moving in the upward direction. Here also it is going down. That means here the information is not only in the forward, but it is going in the backward direction also. That is called as recurrent network, and I won't discuss about it in my today's class. It is just feed forward. As you can see over here, see the information is going like this everywhere. Actually, truly speaking, this should also connect to this. This should also connect to this. That is a completely connected neural network. But it is also quite possible that it can be partially connected also. And these can be systems causative inputs, like as I said. And the output can be, say, evaporation, evapotranspiration, and so like in our water resource engineering. Okay, further. So you get an answer. Naturally, there is no formula. So how come the answer would be correct? Here comes what we call it as learning, and that's why this is artificially intelligent. How the learning is done? That is called as training. It is an iterative procedure, because once you get answer out of it in the first time, what is to be done? Calculate the error. So suppose you have 1,000 amount of data of say evaporation. Then out of that 700 data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1. Likewise 700 data you can use to do this kind of calculation, and you will get an error every time. Am I right? Now this is what is the training going on. You are trying to teach that for these 5 values this is the answer, for these 5 values this is the answer, for these 5 values this is the answer, and that is how you are providing the data to the neural network. That is how right from our childhood we learn. Somebody draws like this and then teaches us that this is called as A. Somebody calls this like this is 7, this is 1, and likewise. This is how our brain works. That is what we are trying to do over here. But when the answer is not matching and I am developing a model out of it, what would be there? I would calculate the error, and the error is calculated like this: output minus target square for sum all these things for all 700, divide by 700. What you will get, it call it as mean squared error. So there would be an error diagram like this. Here there would be an error, and this error I have to take it down completely. The error should reduce completely. When the error reduces, it means that output and target, they are now coming close, and that's why it is iterative. So whenever I calculate the error, what I do, I get the error and I distribute the error here, here, here and here. And how this is done? This is done by algorithms. That's why it uses some of the algorithms from the machine learning. There are certain algorithms for training the neural network. So the algorithms, they are used to distribute the error and to reduce the error. Some of them they are supervised and some of them they are unsupervised. Let me not go into that detail now. That is a full-fledged 3-4 hours. Last year we taught a course in our institute for third year engineering of all the branches, all programs. We taught them ANN in engineering in general, open elective. We took 40 lectures on neural networks right from the beginning to the end with all the calculations. And all computer engineering, electronics engineering, IT, they attended lectures from civil engineering department who are giving a lecture on artificial neural networks in engineering. That is what we did in VIIT last year. Okay, so this is a full-fledged course, so I won't go into much detail. Let me only tell you that the error has to be minimized, and that is done by employing variety of algorithms. That's why it is iterative. In only one stroke it may not happen, so you will get an error. So error is therefore propagated in the backward direction and information in the forward direction. That's why this is called as feed forward back propagation. Back propagation is done of the error. So error is propagated back. What will happen because of that? The weights and bias would change. Error is distributed means what? It is not like you have to just take the error and then distribute it like Prasad, that here some, here some. No, it is not like that. It means alternatively, we have to change the weights and bias. So you will get new weights and bias. The question is how to change the weights and bias? Use some training algorithms. They are nothing but optimization algorithms, non-linear optimization algorithms. They are listed over here. Afterwards, I will show you. Just you can see here, see how it is working now. It is going from input hidden to output. See, forward pass, it is making the prediction. Here, here. It will get a loss function, that means the error. It will calculate the error and then it would propagate in the backward direction. That is what I explained you right now. This is feed forward and this is back propagation. Remember that it is a type of neural network. Algorithms are used for this back propagation, but type of neural network is feed forward and back propagation. FFBP, the famous name. You can see this over here as well. See, okay, new data, calculate the values, calculate node values, calculate node values. You will get the output, get the error and update these values, the weights and biases. new data, likewise this goes on. Once it goes from here to here and comes back, that is one iteration. Likewise, you go on doing the iteration, still the error is not minimized. To minimize the error, that is what is network training. What happens exactly to the error? I will show you. See, this is the training is going on. Feed forward, error is back propagated, and everywhere the weights and biases, they would change. Okay, further. See, this is how the training happens. This is a kind of neural network. 2:3:1. 2 neurons in the input layer, 3 neurons in the hidden layer, 1 neuron in the output layer. There would be some kind of transfer functions or squashing functions. There are various names like linear, like say tangent kind of functions, that is hyperbolic tangent. Then there is a loxic kind of function, that is log sigmoidal. There is ReLU, ReLU. ReLU is very famous amongst image processing community, very famous. So some kind of transfer function here, some kind of transfer function here. What you have to observe is that this one is the what we want, the output. And red line is the neural network prediction. So truly speaking, as you can see, whenever you are here, the error is the highest. As you go further, you can see that at every kink, the error is getting reduced. And when the error is the smallest, you are reaching the best value, the red value. So you are reaching it over here, the output. While doing that, right from the beginning, you start now observing the outputs. These are the results achieved. Let us start from the beginning. See 0.011. Every time this value, this goes further, every iteration, the value changes. You can see it over here. Iteration 30, 40, error is this. Iteration 50, error is this. 59, the smallest error. So right from the first to the last, error is reducing. For every kink, you can see, everywhere you can see the values of the weights, they are changing. Just look at it and then we will go further. So this is how the training happens. It requires variety of algorithms. Some of the algorithms, they are very, very simple. Some algorithms, they are very fast. Let us not go into that detail. Just let me show you the names. Remember that standard back propagation is an algorithm. It is not a type of network. Type of network is FFPP. Type of network is recurrent neural network. Type of network is radial basis neural network. Type of neural network is generalized regression neural network, GRNN. FFPP, the type of network, the names appearing on the screen, they are all algorithms, and this is found to be the fastest. Okay, LM algorithm is Levenberg Margaret. If you have the book on engineering optimization by Professor S.S. Rao, you can get all these algorithms. Engineering optimization by Professor S.S. Rao, you will get the actual all algorithms in that particular book in the chapter on nonlinear optimization. These are the algorithms which are used to minimize the error. So these are also machine learning algorithms. But here only brain is working that way. That is what it is. Okay. So with this is how the neural network learns. That's why it is AI, artificially learning. That's why it has got the learning capacity. But actually it is purely mathematical. This learning happens by reducing the error. Pure mathematics. Okay, now it is almost 4:50. I think it's now time to turn towards the ocean engineering part. How these things, they have been applied to our oceanic parameters. Okay, so first, wave forecasting using artificial neural networks. This work we did, that is called as National Data Buoy Program. It is owned now by INCOIS. At that time, INCOIS was definitely there, but at that time it was owned by NIOT, National Institute of Ocean Technology. It is still there. They are still having the wave buoys, BUOY, that is called as the wave buoy. This is the wave buoy. it actually operates like this, up and down. It is moved at the base. These are some of the sensors. It measures temperature, pressure, all these kind of things, and waves. But how it measures the wave? It moves up and down. So when it moves up and down, say for every 20 seconds in a minute or 20 minutes in an hour, such readings are taken. And what this gives you, because of the wave action up and down, this also goes up and down. So this gives you the acceleration, vertical acceleration. And once you know A is equal to dv by dt and v is equal to dx by dt, bus, that's all. So if you know the acceleration, you can integrate to get the velocity. If you know the velocity, you can integrate to get the position. Position means nothing but position above the standard level, and what will be called as a wave height. Standard nomenclature used is called as significant wave height. That is the maximum 1/3 of the wave heights. That is the significant wave height. That is the terminology used for waves. These are the wave buoys. Whenever it is S, it is shallow water. Whenever it is D, it is deep water. Shallow and deep is not the way we think. There is some coastal or ocean engineering meaning to that. Let us not go into that detail. Okay, so NDBP asked us that they want to have the wave forecasting at these many locations. And from our IIT Bombay side, I was working with Professor Dev. So I was the chief modeler in this particular case. And then we started working on that because we were having the data at these variety of buoys. The data was only the previous wave heights. This I am talking to you from 2007. Not much data was available, and it was only in terms of the wave heights. So what we did, we developed univariate kind of models. I hope that you understand what is univariate. If you use the previous values of the same parameter to forecast the parameter few time steps ahead, it is called as univariate. If you use number of parameters to forecast one parameter which is not included in the previous, then that is called as multivariate. So as only waves were available, we took previous values of the waves, and that we did by our trial and error. We did not use any other technique. We tried it by trial and error, and then we developed the models at various these stations. Okay, these were SW2, SW3, SW4. These are variety of stations. What were our inputs? They were 4. 3, 6, 12 and 24 hour previously. So that means right now, if it is say 5 o'clock, then say 5, if that is 5, then this can be say 3, that means 2, then 6 hours behind that. So that means 3 hours more. So this is 2, that means this may be 11, so 6 hours. Then directly 12, so morning 5, and then yesterday evening 5, and these are going to give you 3, 6, 12 and 24. So there is always a gap of 3 hours over here, as you can see. So 3 hour back, 6 hour back, 12 hour back, and 24 hour back can give you 3 hour. It can give you 6 hour. It can give you 12 hour, and it can also give you 24 hour. So these kind of outputs also we gave. Okay, so for this 5, our last observed value was at 2. So our model will run at 2 o'clock. It will give us the value at 5, then 8, then again 5, and then tomorrow evening 5. So actually we started with yesterday 5 and we ended with tomorrow 5. These many values, they are in the model at one time, univariate kind of modeling. Okay, so previous these 3, 6, 12, 24, next 3, 6, 12, 24. We make separate neural networks for all this. There is one more hitch in that. There was a lot of gaps in the data. Lot of gaps. Now here it is very important that you should get continuous data because you are using the previous values. It is quite possible that now this data is absent. That means this complete line is gone. This complete line is gone. It means that we have to search for all the values where continuous data is available, and our results were very poor unless we filled the gaps in the data. This is once again statistical kind of thing, that without changing the properties the data has to be filled, and that we did also using neural networks, which I will show you afterwards. But right now only understand that we are having these kind of neural networks where it will be like 1, 2. Yes, am I audible or on? Yes, am I audible or am I out?
Yes, sir.
You
You
are
are.
audible.
Yeah, okay. So these are the four. There would be a definitely somewhere the hidden neurons, and this is the one, let us say 3 hour. Likewise, 6 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour. This is how the neural networks they were made. Gap filling, I will tell you afterwards. What we understood is that you should require minimum 3 years of the data. In India, we are having 3 hourly values. So there are total 8 values per day. And so therefore 8760, that is for 3 years. That means if you divide by 3, then you are supposed to get 2920, these values per year. If you go to USA, they get 8760 per year. They make it hourly. Okay, so further, this was the neural network architecture. Everywhere 4 hidden neurons except at SW5. SW5 is somewhere. SW5 is here. This is a very important buoy. This is near, this is here. It is very near to Colombo. Okay, but it is on this side of India. Okay, this is very, very near, and this is also in a closed shell. I think it is Tuticorin because Chennai is over here. This is, I think, Tuticorin, which is in a shell. It is not very much exposed because the activity will be marred by this presence of a land over here on this side in the form of Sri Lanka. Right? This is SW5. It requires, say, 5 hidden neurons. So 4 separate neural networks, algorithm LM, Loxic and Purelin. These are the kind of transfer functions over here and over here. Okay, that is all by hit and trial. See here, as I said, deep and shallow from 18 to 3800, 17.5 meter to 3800. See SW3 shallow, but SW2 it is also shallow. That's why I said don't just jump to the conclusions just by looking at the depths. It is not like that. There is something different also. Just try and understand that everywhere you can see 2-3 years of data has been used. Some of the data is used for training the neural network, as I explained you, and some of the data is retained for testing the neural network, because unless otherwise you test it, it is not a model. Whatever I explained is training the neural network, but that prepares a model, but you have to test the model afterwards by unseen data. Normally, while developing only, we keep some data with our hand, which we don't present. So once our model is ready, we present that particular data to the model and we get the answers. Afterwards, then we put it in actual operational level to the server, which can continuously take the data and produce new values. These new values will be of tomorrow. So whether you are right or wrong, you will get it in tomorrow only. And likewise, you can keep it rolling for a few months to understand whether your model is working operationally well or not. That also we did in our next project. Okay, this also we did with NIOT Chennai for a few months. All our models, they were working. See, you can see the results. Red is the output and this is the target. Few things are very, very common. That yes, it is matching the ups and downs of the waves. But at some places you can see that here or here, the trough, the crest and the trough, the extreme values, they are not matched very well. So this is a very, very common observation of many neural network models in many cases, not only in waves. This happens in many such cases. There are reasons for that. Let me not go. But here you can see that this is working really well. Still, there is this gap. So for high values, it may not be working well. That too, this is 6-hour prediction. This is 12-hour prediction. So here the prediction interval is increasing. And it has also been observed that as the prediction level increases, the accuracy decreases. I will show you that in this table. You can see that not much decrease, but there is a definite decrease. Okay, they are all very good. Here also 21, this is the error, it is increased. Mean average error 15, 17, 19, 24, it is increasing. So as the lead time increases, the accuracy decreases. Everywhere you can see, but still for something very natural like waves, this accuracy is great. This is great, excellent. That is what you can see. But now see for SW5, these two, as I said, 12-hour and 24-hour, this is really less. That to SW5 I have shown you. This is a very challenging case because that is in shelter, that is Tuticorin point. So it is having some other thing also involved, which is not included in this neural network model. Something else has to be there. Others, they are open. So they are giving very good values. So this also fits to the basics, to the physics, that yes, there is going to be some problem. So only waves will not serve the purpose. Something else we have to take as an input as well, so that you can improve the accuracy. So we made a software out of it. Say NIoT wave forecasting GUI developed by IIT Bombay. Let us say we work it for SW5. You can click here on SW5. So DS5. DS5 is over here on this side. Okay, so DS5. Once I put it DS5, I will say load. Once I say load, see, this is my data. This data is received by NIoT. The DS5 data, I have to click on this Excel sheet. So once I click on this, I get the observed values, solid line, and these are the predicted values. You can see here timings are there predicted. 3rd hour, 6th hour, 12th hour, and 24th hour. You can see that these are the date and time, 6, 9, 15, 3, and 3rd hour 1.29, 1.31. These are the waves. So this can give you 24-hour ahead wave environment at these locations. Very important thing. 1 day ahead completely we can give using this software. This we made using MATLAB. Okay. Now, as I said, whenever there were gaps, these accuracy we were not getting in the beginning. So what we thought, let us estimate the wave height at one location, let us say SW3. If there is a gap over here, I want to fill this data because the model was not working well. So what we thought, let us think about the physics of the process. The wind, which are responsible for the waves, they come like this. So whatever is the wave environment over here, using this, I can map on this, or using this too, I can map on this. So that is what is called as a wave network, which we tried to make. That is called as spatial. Spatial means in the spaces. So what we did, training with the gap fill data, it improves the accuracy that we found out. And so it was necessary that we should have different boys and their data filled. So SW2, SW3, SW4, 2, 3, 4, DS1, DS2, DS1 and DS2 on this side Arabian Sea. Suppose what we did, two input, one input models. What is this 2 and 1? I will just show you. What is input? 3 hourly SWH. What is output? At the same time. They are not forecasting. They are just retrieving. The data at one location is lost. I will get the data. I know the data over here. So at the same time, what is the data over here? Can I forecast it? Can I predict it? That is what is the neural network which we made. And we made a GUI, that is graphical user interface, out of it. So you can see here DS1, DS2, they are giving you SW4. You can check it. DS1, this is the DS2. Okay, this is DS1 and this is SW4. So this is one network. So if I want to fill the gaps of SW4, I will use this and this. Suppose somebody says, sir, DS1 is not there. Then what are you going to do? So this was the 2 input model. I have also developed a 1 input model. Suppose DS2 is there, can I get SW4? Suppose DS2 is not there, DS1 is there, can I get SW4? All such models, they were developed. Here you can see DS2, SW4. Similarly, DS1, SW2, I can get SW3. You can see that everywhere the hidden neurons, they are changing by hit and trial. And see the accuracy, 0.95, 0.95, 0.96. That means I can accurately fill the gaps. And this filled gap data I then further used in my actual wave models. So this worked inside that particular wave model if necessary. And then on the front end, my wave model was working. Okay, see the results. Wonderful results. This is SW4 using DS1 and DS2. Okay, that means the SW4 waves I can get if I put the values of DS1 and DS2, a neural network was made of this kind. But remember that it is not a forecast, it is just estimation. You can say that retrieval of the values. Okay, further, this is for DS1 using, see, every kink, every up and down is matched very well by the neural network. Of course, there are certain differences, but that is between 1 and 2 meter, and considering the natural thing like waves, this is quite reasonable. That is what anybody would say, those who understand the concept of wave theory. This is for DS2 using SW4. So you can see that after this we made a GUI out of it. So if you want to make, these are all radio buttons. If you want to make, say, station SW2, SW2 is over here. Okay, SW2 will have either one input model or two input model. I will say load. Once I say load, you can see that SW2 test 1, SW2 test 2. The names are like, this is one input model, this is two input model. If I select, say, test 2 and I will include the data, I will immediately get the values of SW2. So this is the gap filling. So though the data at SW2 is lost, but if I am having the other data present in that network, I can fill this gap and I will make my original data of SW2 complete, and then I can make that 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 12, 24 model working very well for me. That is the wave forecasting. This we did in 2007 for NIoT, and then it was connected to their server for longer time. Of course, they use the regional models, which are numerical models like Mike21 for the entire region. But for location specific forecast, these are the best. And that I can say that because INCOIS again in Hyderabad came to us in 2013 for correcting their location specific forecast. These are NIoT, they are INCOIS, but they are the same from Earth Sciences Ministry. They are doing the forecasting in regional level, but when from region to location they go, there were always some kind of problems and errors. So they came to us for location specific forecast. This was using the waves, that was doing something different, that I will come after a certain time. But whatever just I said that when the leading time increases, the lead time increases, the accuracy decreases. That was one observation. As well as some peaks, they were not forecasted correctly. And there was one more observation, that at many times there is a prediction lag. That means you are getting a prediction, but after that time, then it is not a prediction. That is called as a prediction lag. And this is due to a phenomena called as autocorrelation, which is predominant in autoregressive models. So Dr. Dixit then developed this neurowavelet models in VIIT. And this was an AICTE sponsored project. It is a hybrid technique. I'm not going into that. It is in signal processing. This wavelet transform is used. Small wavelets are made out of larger wavelets, the larger waves, and this is for data pre-processing. So entire wave, whatever we have, the data, it passes through the wavelet transform. So the data what is used for training the neural network models is transformed. Okay, these are the reasons for doing this exercise. So what is necessary is that you need to decorrelate the information, because as I said, autocorrelation is the phenomena because of this autoregressive univariate kind of models, and this happens in univariate models only. So if you want to decorrelate the data, you need to use something like wavelet. So what is done over here is, see, this is what is happening. So this is actual and this is predicted. So there is a time lag. And once time lag is there, forecast is of no use, and this is very predominant. This is for water levels. This has been observed for any kind of univariate modeling. And we solved this problem here in VIIT. The author or the researcher is with us right now also attending this particular lecture. Okay, so study area and data. We worked in two places. One in USA, this is the Gulf of Mexico. This is the Eastern Gulf of Mexico. This is Western Gulf of Mexico. This is Houston. This is Galveston over here, small island. And I was working in this Galveston University, Texas A&M Galveston. We were having some buoys near about that. So 42039, 42040, these are very famous because here about 25% of uh, oil of United States, it comes from this area. And this is near 41004. This is Atlanta. So this is here, there is New York. So it is near to that. This is Atlanta. That means this is Georgia. Okay. And this is the famous Miami, Florida. Okay. So this area we have selected because the hurricanes, they always come like this. You may be knowing the names Rita, Ivan, Karina. These are the names of the hurricanes which hit United States. And every year they do things like this. And so therefore it was necessary to make these kind of models and develop them more accurately. So we tried them over there. We tried them at Ratnagiri, Pondicherry, and Gopalpur as well in India. So what we did, 3 stations. See here, instead of that 36, now we are going from 12 to 48. So 2 days back now we are going. The output is T plus 48. So 2 days back we are going like this, and we are giving output 48 hours ahead. 70% data we are used for training, 30% for testing, and we are having 7 years of hourly measured heights. 4 models they were developed at each station to forecast 12, 24, 36. It is just like my previous work, but now here difference is that we are not doing that kind of inputs. Our inputs are slightly changed. And here we are going till 48 hours behind and 48 hours ahead. See, accuracy, it is decreasing as the leading time increase. Very, very poor, very poor. And this is very important in USA because USA has got a lot of variation in the data. India doesn't. And so our accuracy was higher in case of that particular NIOT work. And here we found out that it is reducing a lot. That too, 12 hour also 0.73 is not very good. Remember these values because I'm going to show you what happened once we develop the wavelet model. See here, there is a straight way 24-hour time lag. That means the values are coming, but they are coming after 1 day. What is the use of that? So we did the wavelet transform. What we did is we decomposed the input time series using discrete wavelet transform. Let us not go into that mathematical jargons. This makes ANN model to approximate and detail. So 2 ANN models they were developed, but remember that they will give values in terms of transformation only. And so therefore inverse transform was necessary, and after inverse you get an output. That's why this is called as a neuro wavelet model. So this is pre-processing only, and this is post-processing. In between that, there is the neural network, but here difference is that 2 different neural networks are done, one for approximate components and one for detailed components, because we are decomposing into components. The inputs. What were the inputs? The same input we have to choose because we have to compare with simple neural networks. Everything is same. And there is something like a third level decomposition. Let me not go into this is the composition at third level. So if this is x, this is approximate, this is detail. Again this is divided, approximate, detail, again divided, approximate, detail. So you get 1 approximate and 3 details. So 1 neural network of approximate, 1 neural network of detail, but everything is in transform. And so ultimately we have to make the inverse transform to get the results. So these are our transform, approximate and detailed networks, as you can see. This is for 3 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour, 36 hour, and 48 hour. And these are the architectures. You can see this. It is published in Ocean Engineering Science Direct elsewhere, 2015. Now here you can see, this is the observed, the dotted one here, dark. ANN output, you can see that there is always an error here also. But MNWT, that means the neuro wavelet, you can see that to this dash dark, our line of this solid line, it is always fitting on that dash dot. And see here, this is the ANN and this is our forecast. This is ANN and this is our forecast. So everywhere the lag is removed completely. The phase shift, what is there, it doesn't remain whenever we are working with this. So always look at the dotted line. You will see that the dotted line is not over the solid line. It is always phased out. It is always coming afterwards. But whereas the solid line is very near to this dash dot. So what it proves that ANN is 0.94, NW2 that to 0.994. So accuracy is also very high at 12 hours. So both the jobs they are done. We further worked on this also, and then we proved that if we use this kind of networks, the peaks, whenever there will be cyclones, there would be very high wave heights. They can also be predicted well. You can see that for 24 hours, this was 0.86, ours is 0.98. And still, you can see everywhere that this dotted line is far away. It is showing a lag. And MNWT, the lag is not there. See here, 36-hour forecast. See the accuracy, 0.98. It is maintaining the accuracy. Sustainable model. See the scatter plot. Wonderful scatter. Here you can see that these values are scattered a lot. Here the scatter is balanced, 0.98 R. See at another location, 42039. Once again, 0.8 and 0.83. We are doing better to that. See, these are the results. 994, 982. It is decreasing still, but very much better than this. 0.27 we have improved. 0.19 we have further improved. Then we improved that again further by doing some more pre-processing. This was third level decomposition. Then we made it to further decompositions, and then we got values of very high accuracy. That's why we could publish a paper in Science Direct. Otherwise, they won't take it. Okay. And extreme values, you can see 8.89. This was the 10.32. What we got? 10.75. 12 hour, 24 hour, 10.81. Here this was lagging. Once again we worked on that and we bettered ourselves every time. So we can say that safely that this is going very near to the extreme values as well. Our neuro wavelet. See, it is quite clear. Instead of third prediction, if I am having 7D, it was third level decomposition, fifth level. Let us not go into detail. Let me just tell you that this is 7D, but neuro wavelet model, Hurricane Katrina, this wave is about 17-meter height. Significant wave. That means it is about maximum wave 34-meter, 10-storied building. Predicted very, very well by our neuro wavelet kind of model. You can see here. So it was specifically for extreme wave heights, which we again published in Applied Ocean Research in Science Direct on elsewhere. Okay, this was for Katrina 2005. Okay, then for Gustav 2008, 12-hour forecast. You can see the accuracy of the 7D is working very, very well. Then at Indian Station, Pandi, Ratnagiri and Gopalpur, they are excellent. You can see that everywhere. Wonderful values. Errors are very small. R values, they are great. For 48 hour also 0.99, almost 1 with 7D. Wonderful results. You can see here. Everywhere 7D predictions, they are great. That means 3D are not that bad. They are better compared to simple ANN. But to strive for more and more accuracy is the job of any researcher. we are reaching to this much accuracy. So results at Gopalpur, you can see here, all are very high. Here this was bad but improved in 70. Okay. Further, these are for Gopalpur. Then this was all the work done for using the basic model developed, and then we applied it at different places, USA and in India, and this made a new research that we can improvise, or we can have the sustainable model development, because the values of the model accuracy, they were maintained. With all this going on, INCOIS, they also approached us. Why? Because this happened. This is INCOIS. These are their waveguides. Ratnagiri, that's why we chose Ratnagiri in our previous work. Okay, we got the data. Ratnagiri, Karwar, then this is Pandi, Vizag, and all these places. Okay, what they do things like this. They are having one particular numerical model, and this green line is their forecast, but the red line is their observed value. I need not say what is happening. So somewhere they got to know that Professor Dev and his students like me, at that time I was working in Pune only, that we do something about neural networks. So they contacted us and they said, can you do something out of it? But there is one condition. You must use these green values. You should not develop your own forecasting model, because as you know that we can develop our forecasting models like in IoT. They said no, that you can't. You have to use our forecast only, and at a particular location, can you fill this gap? That means, can you reduce this error? That was their question. Okay, so we went further. What was our logic? Observed minus INCOIS. This they provided us. This was the data also provided. That is the error. That is what they are showing. So we developed a univariate time series of errors only. Okay, so the error at this time, error at 3 hours back, error at 6 hours back, error at 27 hours back, likewise. So we made a univariate time series of error, and then we predicted error 24-hour ahead. So this is a univariate model. The earlier concept, we used it over here itself, that if we go back with the errors and develop a neural network out of it, this can give us the error for 24-hour ahead. So we predicted the error, not the waves. That is the beauty of this research. We predicted the errors and not the waves. So once we get the error, then we forecasted the errors, we added into INCOIS forecast or subtracted, and then we get the corrected values, as simple as that. So our idea was this, that you develop an error model and then use the INCOIS model. See the results. So this is what we did using the soft computing technique of neural network, and compared with the numerical model, I think I need not say anything about it. You can see that these are the observed. This is the corrected, that is what we did. And this is their predicted by mathematical model, numerical model. We are very close to them. Okay, and this we did for 6 months altogether at the 3 stations. Let me show you here all. Everywhere you can see that their observed values, they are different. Everywhere their predicted values, they are at a larger distance. Everywhere. That is the numerical model or predicted model, and these are the values which are by our model, the corrected model by VIIT team. This was practically done at 3 different locations. I believe they were Ratnagiri and Gopalpur and one more station. Now I forgot the name. So this is how we worked in live also, and we developed and transferred this technology to INCOIS, Hyderabad. Last one, because now I'm about to end. I know that it is about 2 hours now, so I will not stretch it further. Though the time is given as 2 hours, as a teacher, we should know that how much one can take. Okay. So the difference is now the water level. What is the difference? Remember, everybody knows about tide. Tide is a recurring phenomena. That too in India, it is 12 hour 20 minutes. That tide, it can be predicted for many years because there are 69 components and it is a recursive phenomena. So there are tidal tables sitting at our home. We can tell what tide would be there next year, this day. That is possible. But actually what happens is that this is the situation, that the water level comes over here and once it is down over here. So sometimes it is more than the tide and sometimes it is less than the tide. That is truly called as the water level, and this is called as water level anomaly. What is anomaly? Difference between the actual water level and the predicted tidal level. So if you go by tidal levels, practically you can go wrong because water level may be higher or lower than that. And this happens because of the local wind conditions. The local wind forcing may have some more water coming, some more height coming over here, and that is the anomaly. Or the local wind which is going from the land towards sea, it may make it very dry. So that is also anomaly. One is positive, one is negative. It is just like the error what we have seen earlier. No, similar kind of phenomena is over here. Fine. So exact similar. This work is done earlier. This was published in 2011. So then I thought that why this kind of principle or this kind of philosophy, instead of calling it anomaly, I will call it error, and then I used it in inquiries. So research philosophy developed at one location was very much used at the other location, and that too with the advantage that we could solve the problem. Originally, this was the methodology. Observed water level minus harmonic. It is like observed by inquiries and minus their forecast, getting the error. Here I am calling it as water level anomaly. I developed a water level anomaly for predicting, or water level anomaly means error. I developed a model for this error only. So once I get the predicted water level anomaly, you can add harmonic tidal level, add or subtract, whatever, and then you get the predicted water level. This philosophy I used for inquiries as well. But this work is done much earlier to that. In 2011, I published this particular work here. So this work was done at Portland and Boston. Same, Boston is MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where Boston, Harvard is there in Boston. And this is Portland. We are on the right hand side. This is Atlantic and this is Bay of Fundy, where you get very high water levels. And this side is nothing but Canada. They are very close over there. Okay. Now, this is called as Prince William Sound. This Prince William Sound, Anchorage, this is in Alaska. Here there was a lot of water spill, and so therefore this area was very important. I selected Valdez and Cordova. These are the two stations. All stations, whatever they are selected, they are because of certain reason in USA. And then of course Galveston was where I worked in 2004. So while working in India also, because this data is available freely, that is the reason why I use this kind of data. Indian data now you get, but that too not freely. If you are having some project with inquiries, or if you apply through proper channel, you can get some kind of data from our government agencies. USA available freely. So what is the model formulation? This model formulation was again univariate only, but remember that univariate is the error, just like what we did in inquiries. But here I went 7 days back. Why? Because what has been understood by wave theory is that the effect can be felt 7 days earlier. Tide is a wave only, long wave. Don't confuse between wave and tide. Waves are short waves, 30-second wave period maximum, say 1 to 30. Tides, long waves, 12 hour, 20 minutes, they will repeat. But what we did, 7 days back, we took only two values, water levels at 12 and 24. 6 and 5, 8, 16. So this is having more influence on my output. This is having still higher influence. And last day and 1 day before that, I am taking 6 values, so total 28 values. And what is my output? 6, 12, 18, 24. 358 data sets for 1 year. 358 one day. So out of that, about 28, that means 7 days are gone in my model development. Gone means they are in the model at that time. And so therefore I get 358 plus 7 is 365. Mind. So once I develop the models, these are for Boston. Four, that is what I earlier said, that 6, 12, 18, 24, these are one time. Earlier I have shown you that separate networks. This is only one network which I have developed. So there were 4 outputs at a time. So this also proves that number of output neurons can be more than one. Boston, Portland, Cordova, Valdez, Galveston, and Dauphin. Dauphin is 42040 Biloxi. Very, very important. Shell oil exploration plant is there. That's why Dauphin is chosen. Okay, this is the architecture, network parameters. This was the data, and this is used for testing. This is used for training or calibration. Let us see the outputs. 0.95, 93, 99, almost equal to 1 for all. Why this is so? Because I use the error. I did not go for direct water levels. What I did, I got the error, I forecasted the error, and then simply I added or subtracted the error from the tide to get the correct water, to the water level to get the correct value. Okay, the algorithm which I have shown you earlier. See the values. You are matching. Observed and predicted, very, very difficult to distinguish between them. They are so much matching to each other. Wonderful results at all the places. This is 18-hour. This is see 24-hour. You can't make out what is observed and what is predicted. Okay, so this is Dauphin 6-hour. Pleasure Pier, that is Galveston 12-hour. Then I tried that. This I published in 2011, Ocean and Climatic Systems. I tried that in case of hurricanes for Galveston and for Dauphin, for even Katrina and Gustav. These are the 3 hurricanes. You can see that observed and predicted. This is for Gustav period and this is for Ike period. The values are matching. Remember, the water levels are very important on the coast, because the water can easily come over the coast and you have to evacuate the area. That's why this work, its practicality is very, very useful. In India, I still haven't got the water levels correctly. Maybe some of you having some connection with these people. I would definitely would like to work for this particular job in India. If I get the water levels and tide correctly, we can develop a model like this in India as well. Some of you having some contact, please let me know. Then this is for Gustav and Ike. You can see that here somewhere there is a problem, 24-hour, but definitely we can work on it. Research is like that only. This is for Ivan, Katrina, and Gustav. This is very high, but it is trying to catch up with that. Okay. So then what next? We can make this neurowavelet model, what just I have shown you, operational. That one job is still remaining. So that can help us a lot, because what we did is publication. Operational, we really have to use it at some location connected to the server to get the previous values, and then our model works. Then what is the effect of climate change? Professor Dev has already done a lot of work on this at a variety of places around the Indian coastline, but something he might have left, and that I have to check into that. And then we can see the effect of climate change on the waves, on the tides, on the currents, and so many other parameters. Modeling other oceanic parameters. Here I have discussed about the tides and currents, tides and waves, but there can be currents, there can be sea surface temperatures, pressures, and so on. And now deep learning. Up till now, nobody has used, or now people have started using deep learning. So now from general neural network, can I go to deep learning? See, is it necessary? May not be if you get that much accuracy, but research is like this only. It is necessary, therefore, to find out whether something like deep learning is necessary for doing the wave forecasting, or whatever we got is sufficient. But for that, there is no place for speculation. It is better that you do it and then you say, and then you comment. Without doing work, please do not comment anything. No loose comments. Model testing and implementation in real-time conditions. And that is very much necessary if we want to say that our neural network models, they can be supplementary if not alternative. You keep on using your numerical models for the regional level, but for location specific, our models can still help you. That is what is our submission to all the modelers who are doing this kind of modeling, the oceanic or the coastal engineering modeling for our Indian coastline and for other countries also. This is what is our submission to these people, that these kind of models, they can also help support the models which they use. So with this, I finish my uh, uh, 1.5 hour, or say maybe about 2 hours now. This is what I wanted to discuss about applications of neural network. So I discussed about neural networks in the beginning, not in the fullest of the details, but I tried to give you the concept. And then I presented the applications which we did of our own with my students, with my Guruji. This is what we did in last maybe 20 years or so in India, 15 to 20 years in India. So these are the applications which we did, and that is why I have discussed them with you. So I stop sharing my slides, I think. And now, if at all there is some time, I leave it to the organizers. I'm there to answer. So, sir, it is all you now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and informative insight knowledge about ANN and the soft computing techniques. So now I request participants, if you have any kind of question, you can either write in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself and you can directly ask the question to sir.